everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm behind the camera again today and I'm joined by
Ramani.
And today, what subject are we talking about?
Classics and modern languages, so a bit of a rogue one.
Mm-hmm.
Subject nonetheless.
It's interesting. And we're just going to get straight into it. First of all, which college do you go to?
I go to St Anne's, which is also possibly a rogue college, but it is a college nonetheless.
Why is it rogue?
It's like in North Oxford, kind of near the Maths Institute, everyone's like, oh, it's so far out, but it's literally like 10 minutes from town, and it's nice to kind of have a bit of peace and quiet away from like all the tourists and everything. But yeah, occasionally people are like, is that actually a college? But yeah.
I mean, it's not super central, but to be fair, like Regent's Park, I think that one's a bit more unknown, and Somerville maybe. But I applied to St Anne's, so yay. And you study?
Classics and French. But you can do like basically classics with any kind of modern language, like French, German, Spanish, Italian, etc.
Okay, cool. And I'm guessing that the list of all the subjects you could combine it with is on the website for the faculty?
Yeah. You can also do classics and English, or classics and like Oriental studies. So there are a lot of different combinations that you can try out, which people might not know about when they start thinking about applying. But yeah.
It's nice that there's a good range, to be honest. Roughly how many people are in your year group for your specific course?
So there's 3 of us, which is quite small, I'd say.
Across the whole uni?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm at St Anne's, and there's another girl at LMH, so Lady Margaret Hall, and there's a guy at Warden College. And that's the 3 of us in this year who do classics and French. But there are a few other people who do like classics in Spanish or classics in German. So I think overall it's like 6 people in the year.
Okay, and do you think it's like that every year?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. It's not a very common combination. Like, I think classics and English is a bit more, I don't know, mainstream, you could say. But yeah.
Okay, we love a hipster course. So could you give me a brief outline of your course? We can go year by year.
So it's basically kind of studying like the cultures of ancient Greece and Rome and of France kind of across the centuries, like in parallel. Most of the time you don't really kind of compare them, but in 4th year there is like a bridge paper where you can compare like ancient Greek and Roman tragedy to like 17th century French tragedy, and that paper is like specifically designed for people on this course. So that's like the main time, I guess, where you have like one paper which combines the 2 halves of your degree, but otherwise it's kind of up to you, I guess, to make the connections between the 2 halves. So the main focus is on like language and literature, but you can also take papers in philosophy, history, archaeology, film. There's like, you can kind of approach the 2 different cultures from loads of different angles, which is really nice. By the end of the degree, I'd say you have like, I don't know, like a really kind of well-rounded picture of, say, like ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and then like France. You can look at kind of any period you like say with French you can do medieval French, like Renaissance, or like modern, and then with like classics you can do like really early Greek stuff, or you can do kind of quite late kind of Roman things as well. So it's like a really good course if you just want to compare like how different cultures have kind of affected each other over time.
So those modules that you mentioned, are they dependent on the tutors available, or is it basically the same every year?
It's more or less the same every year, although if I take like one of the papers that I'm doing next year, for example, so I wanted to do Francophony studies, I guess. So looking at authors who have written in French but they're kind of from former colonies of France.
Oh, cool.
But this year they like changed the paper, so they split it into one paper on discourses of race and the other one on travel, exile and migration. So they just like made it more specific, I guess. But on the whole, like most options are there like most years.
We just went through 1st year. Is there anything specific to each year? And also how many years is the course? Which year are you in? I don't think we went through that.
So I'm in 3rd year. I've just come back from my year abroad and I have 1 more year to finish. But you can do a 5-year version of the degree where...
Really?
Yeah. Where you basically pick up Latin or Greek from scratch. And so you spend like the 1st year learning that language. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure how that version of the degree works.
That's fine, it's probably on the website.
Yeah, I think so.
But is that a combined master's, do you know?
No.
It's just like a long degree.
Yeah, I think basically what you do is you do classics for the first like 1.5 years. So if you do straight classics, you don't take your exams in 1st year, you do them in the 2nd term of 2nd year, and they're called mods and not prelims, which are like 1st year exams. So I think if you do the 5-year version of the course, you do like mods, and then you like pick up all the French stuff afterwards, is what I think happens.
Well, I guess this is a nice spoiler for if you wanted to take the 5-year course, but if that's what you're interested in, people watching this video, go on the website and find out the proper details.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the other version, which you're doing, and how many years is that?
So that's 4 years.
Okay.
So in first year, I took exams in French and in classics. And then I didn't have any exams in second year. And then third year, also no exams. All of my exams are in fourth year, which is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's just how the degree is. Like, I think for other subjects, they're more like spread out. Like,
it was the same for mine.
Basically, I think in first year, you're just kind of getting used to like how to study at Oxford, or like how to kind of, like for French we had a lot of different texts. We studied a medieval like text, and then like some more modern stuff, and like plays, poetry, and like novels. And then for Latin as well, we did kind of a range of different authors and like different styles of writing. So it was kind of to get like a kind of overview of like both subjects. And then from second year onwards, you can like specialise and like just kind of pick things that interest you. There aren't that many like coursework options within like my degree, but you can do like an extended essay, which is like optional. And there's also for French, there's like a coursework paper. So for me, I'm doing it in Francophonie stuff. You can do it in like women's writing, like European cinema. There's loads of options. And then for classics, there are a few coursework papers like on comedy and like reception. So that's basically looking at how classical authors have been kind of like interpreted and kind of how they've inspired like later authors like in English.
Cool. Yeah. And you don't have a dissertation?
I am choosing to do the extended essay.
Okay.
But technically I don't have to like do that.
Remember this moment where you said that voluntarily on camera in a year's time that you chose to do this. But you know, you'll get through, it's fine. For someone else who maybe doesn't know anything about this course, they probably have misconceptions and stereotypes about what you're doing. What are some of the things you've heard, and were they actually true, or are they like totally false?
Probably the biggest stereotype is with classics rather than the French side, especially as kind of Latin and Greek are not really taught in like most secondary schools. So like people often assume that if you did classics that you like went to a private school, which when you look at like the vast majority of like people who do classics here is like not true. And also I would say that the classics department are really committed to kind of making the subject like as accessible as possible. So you can do Latin and Greek from scratch if you didn't like have that opportunity to do it at school, which is like the case for most people. I was like lucky enough to go to a school that offered like Latin and Greek, but I did go to a state school, so it's kind of like people do assume when you do classics that, and if you've like done kind of rogue languages before, that you went to like a private school. And also I think once you get here, the kind of divide between, you know, private and state schools, it does kind of, not that it's completely like disappears and that like it's just not an issue, but I don't know, you're all kind of here together to study classics. To a certain degree it kind of like doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah. Also, I'll add to that and say that for people watching this, you might be stressed about people asking about your grades and stuff, but to be honest, I've never heard of people asking what you got for your A-levels or equivalent when you get to uni, so don't really worry about that. And also people don't care about like your school and all that kind of stuff unless you tell them, you know.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I think that's fine. But actually, speaking about your school, what did you do subject-wise before coming to uni?
For like A-level?
Yeah, if you took A-levels.
So I did English, French and Latin, and then chemistry as like a rogue AS. I think rogue just like seems to be the word of this like present. Yeah.
I'll put that in one of the hashtags. Your subjects, maybe besides the science, seem to prepare you quite well for this course. Do you think that's true?
Yeah. I would say so, especially because one of the texts that we did for Latin, it's one of the texts that we're going to do for finals, or that like is one of my finals papers. So it's actually really handy to just like have these notes and I can actually use them. Like the intensity of like the workload is so much more, but it's like nice to have had a kind of like introduction. Although I'd say for French that we didn't really study that much like literature at A-level, so it was kind of a bit of a jump to kind of like with the A-level it's much more about like improving your language skills, and then to come here and then for it to be basically all about literature. I would say with modern languages that the focus can sometimes feel like it's more on the literature than the language. I don't know, like in second year we didn't really have much in the way of speaking classes. I don't know, in a way, like, because we were about to go on the year abroad, our tutor was kind of like, you have a year, you'll become like fluent, but it's not really
we're going to get back to that in a second actually, so yeah, just remember the year abroad.
Yeah.
But a few more things about your A-levels actually. So your subjects seem to kind of prepare you a little bit for what you're doing now, but do you think that's recommended to have a similar subject choice as what you did, or do you think if you did like random stuff like maths and maybe history isn't random, but like maths and just STEM subjects, do you think you'd still be okay doing this course?
I think I would have needed to have at least one kind of humanities / essay writing subject.
Do you know if there's any requirements?
I think French is the only modern foreign language that you can't do as a beginner here.
Okay.
French is kind of a must. But
okay.
As I said before, like with classics, you can pick up like Latin and Greek from scratch. But I'd say you could probably do a course like with any combination of subjects, but as long as you have like a passion for learning more about the cultures and like reading around, I guess.
Yeah, and again, just to compare, which I do sometimes for my course, which was Chinese studies, there's some people who are my classmates that only did subjects like maths and economics and stuff before coming to uni, and they didn't even do like an essay subject, like a humanities essay subject, but then they did just fine. So yeah, you learn the skills that you need when you're at uni. We're going to go back and forth a bit.
Yeah, sure.
But let's talk about your year abroad. Where did you go? I'm guessing it was France, but
yes,
it was France.
Yeah.
Where in France was it?
So I was very stereotypical and went to Paris.
Okay, and do you have to go there?
No, you can literally go anywhere in the world as long as it's a French-speaking country.
Interesting.
So I know a few people who were in like Guadeloupe and like Martinique in the Caribbean, but most people kind of stuck to like Europe. So I mean, you could have gone to like Canada, like the French-speaking part, but I think most people were either in France, Belgium, or Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can be like adventurous if you want to be.
Yeah, because like for my course, and I guess courses similar to mine, you have to go to a set place. You're enrolled at a set course. For some of the European subjects, you have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So how exactly does that work for your course? What do you do?
For my course, because I knew that like during the year abroad I wouldn't be taking any like classes for Latin, I kind of wanted to do something where I'd at least be able to keep it up in a way that wasn't just like self-study, because like that requires a lot of like discipline, which I don't have, I think. So I decided to like do the study abroad option, which in a way is maybe the least interesting of the like three main options, which are so studying, working, or like doing British Council, which is where you teach English in like a secondary or like primary school. So I was studying at the Sorbonne, which is also a very ancient university, a bit like Oxford, in Paris, and I was there for 2 terms, but there were people who did like French and Italian who were there for like 1 term, and then they like went off to Italy and like did other stuff. I was there for the year, and it was like, I think the French uni system is actually very different to the UK uni system, which I didn't think it would be at the start. In a way, my year abroad was all of the like cliches about it. Definitely,
you found yourself.
Yeah, well, it kind of, I don't know. It definitely brought. It is such a cliche, but it did broaden my horizons in terms of like meeting other like Erasmus students, and I think also to get outside of the Oxford bubble and to get like. These are all just cliches, but I think at least some of them are true. And like to also be more independent, because especially when you live like in college, you have like a cleaner and like you have a hall, you can just like go and get all your food and stuff. But like being forced to like look for accommodation and like just like I don't know, I guess those things.
Actually, let's expand on this quickly. So it seems like for your year abroad, you have to organise everything yourself?
So the uni placement itself was like an Erasmus exchange that was organised by Oxford.
Okay.
But like say if you decided you wanted to work for the year, like you would, I mean, you would have to find something yourself. There are a lot of like resources online on the like, on WebLearn, which is kind of like...
Our online portal, I guess.
Yeah. I guess if you do British Council as well, that is like, technically that is all organised, but with the accommodation, that's like, and then the transport and stuff, you are kind of thrown in at the deep end, I guess.
Okay, and then in theory, because I know a friend of mine who's doing German was telling me something similar, let's say that you had a placement somewhere for 6 months. For the rest of the 6 months, could you just go home, or like would you have to carry on in like a French-speaking environment doing important things? Which is probably beneficial to you, but just in theory.
Yeah. I think what I realised was that Oxford is not as strict as other unis in terms of in terms of like, so you have to spend 24 weeks abroad. Okay. But like, I had a friend who arrived in Paris in October, and then he left in April, and like that was just his year abroad. Like he worked in a law firm between October and April, and then he like went home. It very much depends like on people's reasons. Some people have like a really full year abroad. Like I have a friend who arrived in Paris in September, so she was at the Sorbonne for a semester. She now works for like the Reuters news agency, and she's going to be there till July. And then I think, and because she does French and Spanish, she still has like the Spanish to fit in. But it's very much kind of, as long as you fulfill the 24-week quota. Sometimes it's billed as being like the best year of your life, which it like is not. Everyone has a different experience, and for some people they just would prefer to like come home, which is completely understandable.
What I guess I'm hearing is that you could leave early if you finish your responsibilities. Yeah. But is the purpose of your year abroad to like improve your language skills, or is it just general independence and stuff?
It is primarily to improve your language skills.
And then the independence is a byproduct, because I guess it's a subject that you're studying.
Yeah.
So it's probably beneficial for you to stay there.
Yeah, I think also to kind of explore the culture. I don't, for me, because I haven't like been to France that much before, I really enjoyed like traveling around to different cities and just kind of getting a feel for like what it's like to like live in France, and kind of, I don't know, it's small things like even just going to the shop and like noticing that the supermarket is like laid out differently, or just like random things like that do give you an insight, I guess, that you don't get like here when you're studying the literature. And I guess it's also preparing us for the fourth year where we have an oral exam, which we didn't have in first year.
So I have a few more questions left for you. I guess people watching this video might be hoping to apply for this course one day. Could you give them some advice if they were to do that?
I would say definitely try and kind of read around the subject beforehand, just because it's such a like wide time period. Try and read authors from different periods. I guess like say for French, maybe try and read a medieval text like in translation, or something from like the Renaissance time, or something more modern. And then like also with classics, maybe try and read authors of different genres, so like maybe comedy, tragedy, like epic. From that, maybe you could try to compare them and see if you can see like links between them, similarities and differences, and like see if you actually enjoy that process of like trying out different authors, and like see if you find, I guess, a niche that you really enjoy, and like I guess that would tell you how well you might be suited for this kind of course.
And another thing would be maybe people who are watching this video are now offer holders. Well, you know, if so, congratulations. And what advice would you give those guys before they get onto the course?
It's very hard to like hold your nerve, because obviously you have like the offer, but then you also have to like fulfill it, and you have like those nerve-wracking months where you're just like preparing for exams, and the kind of wait like in August where you just don't know. It's hard to say. Just sort of try and like hold it in perspective. Like obviously you're gonna do your best. Whatever happens, like it's still amazing that that you got an offer, that you're just like interested in the subject at such a kind of high level, I guess, and like wherever you go, whether it's Oxford or like another uni, you haven't lost anything by like going through this process, like for admissions, and I think it would have only enhanced your kind of passion is such a cliche word, but true, like for the subject. So I guess good luck, and kind of just try and like hold your nerve.
Yeah. So I guess another thing I was going to ask you is, could you share some information that you wish that you were told before taking this course, that you wish you knew?
I think I kind of wish that I knew that I didn't have to know everything like straight away. Like even with the interviews, that when like a tutor asks you a question, you don't, like if you just need time to think about it, like it's okay to just be like, can I have a minute? Even in tutorials, I guess, but it's not, you're kind of here to think about the subject as much as like write essays about it and like speak about it, and that I don't know, like quite a big part of the degree is actually just like taking time to reflect on things and not feeling the need to just blurt out information and just like, I don't know, recall things just like immediately.
Yeah, and I guess that can be difficult in Oxford in particular, because you have so much work, and sometimes it feels like you're always rushing between deadlines. You don't actually get to like consolidate what you've learned and reflect, as you said.
Yeah.
So I guess take more time to try and do that.
Yeah, and I'd definitely say like in interviews or like tutorials or just like whenever, like if you do need time to just I don't know, like have a moment and just like think about what you're going to say before you say it, but it's like actually perfectly fine. And sometimes you'll like come up with a much better response than if you just like rush into things. So I guess
in
like,
the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Lastly, is there anything else that you want to share about your course that we maybe left out that is important?
Maybe this goes for just in general the more like niche courses, but like definitely don't be afraid of like thinking about applying for them, even if they're not necessarily like the ones that most people apply for. They can actually be like definitely really challenging to kind of balance two different courses or different from different departments, especially because sometimes they have like lecture clashes and things like that, and like the approaches to like essays can be quite different. But don't be afraid, I guess, to like take on that challenge. I know like with the personal statement that can be quite hard to kind of keep two subjects like on the go, and like when you come to your degree it can be challenging, but like it's also very rewarding. And I think you get like perspectives that on like both subjects, or just like, I don't know, I guess like cultures in general that you wouldn't get if you just studied one on its own. Don't be afraid to try something new, I guess.
Broaden those horizons.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope if you were watching this video, this was helpful to you. If it was, give it a like, subscribe, and share this with your friends who also might find this useful. And see you next time. Bye. I'm gonna quickly zoom this in slightly. Not uncomfortably, just like that much. You'll see afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's better.
Hashtag rude.
Hashtag rude. Okay, interesting.
Oh, that's... I feel like you just... right? That was kind of like the whole degree, I guess.
Okay,
but,
cool.